It was a couple of years ago that one of my little great-grandsons was wandering through the church patio at Grace Community Church, and I think he was 2 at the time. And somebody came up to me and said, that's your great-grandson. I said, yeah. They said, too bad that he had to be born into the world in a time like this. And I said, look, God brought him into the world for such a time as this. And what we have to do is make sure we provide everything that we can as parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and as a church to secure that little guy in the love of the Lord so that when he grows up, he can be part of the answer, part of the solution rather than part of the problem. Look, the church has always had a challenge facing it in the world. But again, we're reminded that he that is in you as a believer is greater than he that is in the world. And that Christ is the ruler of the world and sovereign over everything, and he will accomplish his purpose. He said, I'll build my church and the gates of Hades will not prevail against it. But when God makes a promise like that, he also has a means to accomplishing it. He calls on parents to be primary agents in the regeneration and salvation of the next generation. It goes back to Deuteronomy, doesn't it? When the Lord said to Israel, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then he said, and teach this to your children. You have to teach your children these truths. Love God, obey his word. Talk about it when you stand up, sit down, lie down, and walk in the way. He said all the time. That was a parental responsibility. We're living in a time when the plan is the same. Teach this generation to love the Lord, their God, to obey his word. That is our responsibility. And I think at this particular season, it's harder and more challenging than it's certainly ever been in my lifetime. There are a lot of assaults in this culture, but none are as relentless and direct as what Satan and his emissaries are bringing at children. So I felt it was necessary to offer some way to help strengthen God's people, and that's why I went into writing this book. As the subtitle indicates, this is instruction, providing refuge for your children in a hostile world. So it's not just a critical analysis of what's going wrong. It's going into the Word of God to find out how to make sure that you raise your children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord so that they will be blessed and effective in living for Christ and taking the gospel to the world that they're going to face. So may God help us as we face these challenging times to do everything we can to protect the precious generation the Lord has given us to steward.